back to the Ad Lib Podcast. Today is episode 7. It's episode 17, right? From the podcast. I think, or 18. I don't know. 17 or 18, one of those. I guess we'll find out.
Our podcast is now legal.
That's true. We can drink on the podcast.
Yes, they can drink on the podcast.
Drunk podcast next week. No, better not. Not with my upcoming bachelor. I don't think I'll be up for more drinking after the bachelor.
You have a bachelor's coming up.
Yes.
Where are you going to have it? Where are you going to...
Yeah, we're going to Amsterdam, yo. Excited for that.
No, he's not going to drink at all.
No. Just water, just a bit of water. Like I'm drinking.
Yeah, just
from
water.
my Star Wars bottle. Just water.
Mushek. Some good Amsterdam water.
Yeah, exactly. Well, although to be fair, Amsterdam don't have rivers, so I don't know about their fresh water.
They do have
a river in Amsterdam.
I mean, not
so there are no
a big
mountains,
one.
right?
Stream. It's a stream, as far as I know.
It's a stream. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Insomma.
Anyways, so we're getting close to episode 20, Franco. We need to see what we're going to do about our episode 20.
You know, I've been putting my feelers out. I have to chase again. Yeah, exactly. Actually, I put a feeler out for a very particular guest, but I leave it even for you. It would be a surprise.
Ooh.
So for both you and Joe, and it would be
nice.
I think if okay, let's touch wood and manifest. Let's manifest.
The table isn't wood, unfortunately.
Sorry.
I went to touch my table, but my table isn't made of wood, unfortunately.
No, it would be a first for Malta as well, and it would be a very interesting discussion as well.
We've been doing some firsts here. We've been doing some firsts.
True. We had Lyndon. We should. I think, well, we are missing some guests, and we're missing someone. Wait, who's not here?
Talking about who's not here. A certain fellow from Glasgow.
And who hates the MCU.
And given the week that the MCU just had, oh my God, it's just like controversy after controversy after controversy. One at a time. Now we're mentioning controversy after controversy. I'm just noticing that from our agenda, I left out a point, and I'll mention it later on.
Yeah,
I forgot a certain sacking of a certain important executive.
Oh yes. But leave it, and when Joe comes in, drops by.
Definitely. And so, Franco, we don't need Joe.
Ecco.
How are you?
Okay. It's I can't wait for this month to pass. Next month we'll finally start building over again, and I look forward to go to therapy tomorrow. I have a really great therapist. Also, we have to shout out someone. Andrea.
Definitely. So, it's not every day that we get these kinds of messages, and when I saw the message from Jan, thank you, Jan, for your message. It was a really lovely message. Really appreciate the love. And, it's the kind of message that, pushes you and motivates you to keep on going. So thank you, Jan. Thank you for watching us.
Yeah, Manjo, right?
Watcher, yes, Jan. Thank you for the love. It really does motivate us to keep on going. And I'm glad that you agree with our views, especially our views on the MCU. I know Joe would say that.
And don't worry, Jan. We also felt the same. Like, how come no one talks about movies as much as we do?
It's true. I'm sure there are more people in Malta who, would feel like Jan. They would like to hear, people in Malta talking about movies.
For sure.
The problem is reaching them, trying to reach them.
But
because
shout out to the Prickly Pears as well. If you want to join a Maltese film group, Prickly Pears is the place to be.
Yes, Jan. By the way, if you're watching this, Jan, I'll send you an invite to the Prickly Pears, because it's a group where there's lots of discussion, lots of very interesting, intelligent discussion, not the usual corny shit we're used to with movies. It's actually very intelligent discussion.
Spicy discussions,
very spicy discussion. So yes, you need a thick skin for it, but I'll just love that group.
So
do you remember when you joined it, Franco?
I forgot the group. I think 3 years ago. 3 years ago, before I left. Exactly. No, 4. I forgot. But I've I've been there quite a long while.
So it's been like 3 or 4 for me as well. Luke Vella had sent me an invite.
Lallo. But but it's been around without Klilmiet, as we say in Maltese, in those areas.
You're going to say something, Franco?
Yes, I was going to ask you, Andrea, what is the Ad Lib Podcast?
Good question. What is the Ad Lib Podcast? So the Ad Lib Podcast is all about movies, all about series, all about video games. And today we actually do have a video game review, or kind of a video game review, part of a video game review. It's a review for a beta, basically. So this week we won't be forgetting gaming. And we have a bit of a trailer as well to talk about, which you sent, Franco. Interesting, the non-gamer sending the gaming news.
But that was, I think that is one game, we'll talk about it later. That is one game that I would love to just bite into, because it's a really interesting storyline, and the graphics look amazing.
The Unreal Engine, man, that Unreal Engine is so beautiful.
It's
so
freaky.
beautiful.
It's freaky because I've also watched. Guess who I'm going to mention, Andrea? Corridor
CC.
Yeah, they did show. I think through them, I saw how powerful the rendering has become, and I think Unreal Engine 5.
Yeah, Unreal Engine 5.
It's uncanny. And for this game, anyway, we'll talk about this game.
We'll talk about it later. And since we're going to talk about Unreal Engine, might as well then we'll talk a little bit about Fortnite as well. I know Fortnite is a bit cheesy, and you'll be thinking, what the fuck are we going to talk about Fortnite? What, we're not kids. But Fortnite just pushed this update just a few days ago with Unreal Engine, and it's crazy. Now I'll show you the trailer to it. It's incredible. And and because Fortnite is all based on Unreal Engine as well. It's Epic Games who created Unreal Engine, basically, and Fortnite is like their baby. It's their testing grounds for all that is Unreal Engine, basically. But we'll talk about that later on. Anyways, as always, today's episode, guys, is going to be split up into 3 sections. We'll start off, as always, talking about what we've been up to this week. Spoilers, I haven't watched too much because I've been extremely busy. Then we'll get into the news of the past week. There has been some spicy news, not too much news this week. And finally, we'll end the episode with some reviews. With regard to reviews, Joe, who I hope will be joining us if he manages to arrive, will be giving us a review for John Wick 4. Then I'll take you quickly through the Succession episode. To be honest, I can mention that at the start because, same old Succession. And finally, like I mentioned, I'll be giving you my thoughts on the open beta of Diablo 4, which I spent a lot of time playing this weekend.
And always remember, follow us, like us, subscribe, share, send us a message like Yamanjon did. We can answer. I mean, Andrea might answer, but I am a snob. I don't have friends, and I don't. I'm a sociopath, basically. No. We will speak about sociopaths. Unfortunately, I think I gave you a good segue over there. Anyway, before we go speaking about sociopaths, follow us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, etc., etc., etc. You know the drill.
Okay. Franco, your week so far, what has it been like?
Well, it's been busy. Like you, I haven't watched lots of movies. I did watch a really interesting Chilean documentary called My Imaginary Country, that covers the protests that sparked after the Chilean government introduced an increase in fee of 30 pesos. Actually, I don't know how much 30 pesos were. 30 Chilean pesos.
30 pesos.
Chilean pesos, eh? Extra.
How much, Franco?
It is in Europe. I think it's 30 Chilean peso. In Europe, it's not much. It's like it's 3 euro cents. But this 3 euro cent increase in Chile, as you see, it caused like nationwide protests, especially by the students, and it's a very moving documentary and inspiring, seeing how proper protests are done. Speaking of protests and whatnot, and there's a great feminist sentiment in this one. It sends a very powerful message, and it's by Patricio Guzman, who's also hi. we already spoke about the MCU. Sorry, man. There's nothing else to say about the MCU.
Okay,
now.
see you.
You can leave,
Peace
Joe.
out.
You can leave, Joe.
Peace out. I'm done. Nothing more to add.
Have you seen this documentary, Joe?
I haven't heard of this documentary.
It's a really interesting. I said it's a really moving documentary, very inspiring as well, and it's very short. Doesn't overstay its welcome whatsoever. And it's about the Chilean protest after the government decided to increase the ticket fare, the transport ticket fare, and it gives more perspective because we just checked how much 30 Chilean pesos are. And in euros, it's not much. It's like 3 euro cents. But apparently, for the country, it was too much. Like students really erupted into demonstrations. This was around 3 years ago, and this documentary came out last year, 2022.
Okay.
If you want to feel politically motivated, this is your documentary.
No, I'm all politics out currently in my life. I keep getting updates from Malta, and I'm like, fuck it.
Ooh.
Sorry,
Man, this whole story deserves a documentary. Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. There's no pastits in this documentary.
No pastizzi mentioned.
There's no leaks as
well.
well, sir. So
Seba darbit. Ugh.
4 days.
In 4 days. Fuck, man. Respect, eh?
Lost respect, lost Jajon. Respect Mark
man.
Camilleri.
No, of course. But I admire his how am I going to put it?
Sigma grind set.
I admire his stamina and Sigma mindset. True.
Yeah.
What else, Franco?
And I'm started just a few minutes. I'm a few minutes in the first episode of a podcast called Case 63 with voice acting by Julian Moore and Oscar Isaac. And it's about a New York psychiatrist, Dr. Eliza Knight, who begins treating a patient registered as Case 63, who claims to be from the year 2062.
Okay.
Okey-dokes.
It's funny enough, I think this was also originally a Chilean podcast, which was then translated into many different languages, and the English language version, the voice acting is Julian Moore and Oscar Isaac.
Nice.
Actually, guys,
Okay.
I did listen to a podcast produced by Monkey Paw Productions, Jordan P's Monkey Paw Productions. Quiet Part Loud, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
I tried to get into that, but I struggle with like kind of narrative podcasts. Maybe I'm a bit stupid, but I struggle with them.
No, sometimes there was a time where I was enjoying, like, I think it was the Black Tapes. It tended to be slightly repetitive, but then it was about paranormal stuff, and Quiet Part Loud is about paranormal stuff and very, very interesting. Good production design as well. Sound design, not exactly production design. I mean, but yeah, I'm looking forward to go into this and see what's up.
Nice.
Very nice. Joe, first of all, how are you? Because I haven't had the time to ask you.
I'm good. I literally got home 5 minutes ago, realized I forgot the connector for my good microphone, so I'm on the laptop microphone now. Got angry at myself for a split second, and I'm just like, "Fuck it, we'll make it work anyway." But no, I'm good. I'm here. Apologies to any fans that we may have that might have missed me in the opening minutes of the podcast.
Sorry, Joe. Joe stands. I'm sorry.
Joe stands.
He broke your heart. Now, write him on Twitter. Like,
I work far away, and I finished work a bit later than usual. I had to go to the gym, personal health and mental health stuff. But I'm like, I knew I would make it roughly in time, and I was a little bit late. So
thanks for the slight hint there. But I was saying, like, after this month, I can start walking again. Baby steps.
that's good.
Good.
But did I tell you guys actually what happened to me? That an insect bit me in Malta, out of all places. I'm not joking. Like my leg, I will show you a photo later on, but most probably it was a flea bite, and my leg, like got big, and I had a fever. I was shaking so much, and I'm still recently there was a flare up, and I'm still having like taking all the drugs.
Oh my God.
So
Okay.
out of all places, like I've been to Korea, you know, where there's dangerous animals, but no.
Yeah, exactly.
This country, Malta's out to kill me. Insomma.
Joe, your past week, how's it been?
My week has been pretty good. I blasted through a season of Ash vs. Evil Dead, and I'm currently, I think, on the finale of season 2.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, really good way to get through that. I mean, not to like humble brag about like gym and stuff. If I do like 30 minutes like cycling in the gym, I just put on an episode on my phone, and it's like the perfect thing to keep me distracted. I really like. I think the rating 8.4 is actually really doing it justice. It's, if you love the Evil Dead, as I said last time about the show, you'll really like the show because it's basically, it's the best parts of like the Evil Dead 2 with kind of like some of the goofiness from Army of Darkness in a TV show. And it's like the first season in particular is a little bit cheap with some of the effects, but then again, it's part of the charm. It makes it feel even more like the old films. Bruce Campbell is incredible. Like they kind of know, like, because there are other characters in it. They kind of know when you're spending a bit too much time with other characters, like, let's just go back to Bruce and let's throw him against the wall for a bit and he'll deliver a one-liner and we'll be fine. And that's kind of what happens. So I'm really enjoying that. I did an Evil Dead 2 rewatch, and we will have a review of that up on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook by the end of the week as part of our build-up to Evil Dead Rise. I got to see John Wick Chapter 4, but we'll get to my thoughts on that much later. And finally, I mean, Andrea and I aren't going to discuss it today, but I did put myself through another episode of The Mandalorian, which I will continue to do so until it finishes, because evidently I hate myself. But as Andrea, I think you and I said, we'll discuss those in 3-episode bursts.
I think we can. I think it makes sense now to do 3 and 3. There's 9 or 8 episodes, Joe.
I think 9. I believe 9 episodes. So yeah, we can do it in 3s.
No, you can't.
I wasn't too happy either with the episode, to be honest. I was going to mention that, in fact, in my week.
You can't hate yourself as much as Andrea does, because I've never heard someone go through so much shit like Andrea.
You know, this podcast made me stop watch shit.
But you're still watching The Mandalorian.
I became quite self-aware about it.
I feel like The Mandalorian is something that like we kind of have to watch to remain relevant, for lack of a better term, because like it is a trending thing.
Actually, guys, I think we should do this assignment for the next episode. We should watch one of the worst-rated movies and see. For example, have you ever? I think only Joe watched The Room, most probably.
3 times.
I watched it like 3, 4 times. Definitely.
I'm sorry.
I love it.
That's a great movie. I don't know what you're on about.
I'm not a cinephile.
I love The Room.
I haven't put myself through it yet.
You have to. It's a rite of passage.
If they were going to do like cinema screenings of The Room here in Malta, I would go. I would definitely go. I love The Room.
Well, we can ask people, and I can make it happen. Let's go.
I would definitely go watch it.
Make sure you take some spoons with you.
But
The Room is great. The Room is so good.
He's coming out with a new movie, huh?
Yes. Was it a shark movie?
Yeah, I think it's literally called Big Shark.
Big Shark. And the memes already started. Oh, hi, Shark.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm What else, Joe?
I mean, apart from that, nothing else. That's basically, I'm trying to think. No. I did actually, due to the Blank Check podcast, shout out one of my favorite movie podcasts. They're doing a series on Danny Boyle at the moment, which I've really been enjoying. Just going through all his films. And they had an episode of Sunshine coming out, and I was like, man, I've only seen Sunshine like once, and I remember really, really liking it. And I was like, that was like, what? It's like 6-7 years ago when I first watched it. I'm like, let me try this again, see how it ages. And I'm like, this is fucking phenomenal. Like, and the massive tonal shift that it takes at a certain point is not for everyone, but for me, I love it. I get behind it every time. It makes total sense. And they actually, when I then listened to the podcast, they said something which I thought was a bit of a sweeping statement, but then it made sense, where they said this film, which did not do well, but has a decent cult following, it quietly, without anyone knowing it, it changed the way science fiction films now for the last 20 years have looked and felt.
Wait, wasn't it written by Alex Garland as well?
It was written by Alex Garland.
So it makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah. But that statement, when they said that, if they changed the way like science fiction films look and feel, especially space science fiction films, like they brought up like Interstellar as an example. They said Interstellar doesn't look and feel the way it does without sunshine coming before it. And then when I thought about it, I was like, that kind of really makes sense, because although probably not that many regular people went out to see that film, I'm sure a lot of filmmakers and directors saw that film just because it was Danny Boyle, you know, and they probably drew inspiration from that.
I think one of the sequences I still remember, it was clear in my head, is when they enter. I think they entered the pod or the spaceship, and there are flashes of the past crew.
Yes. That's I love that.
That was like, oh, what's happening? All of a sudden,
that's when the film really starts to change. It goes from like a dramatic space film to then becoming quite literally a psychological horror / thriller. By the end of that film.
Yep.
But yeah, that was me. That's my week.
Okay. My week basically involved watching a couple of episodes of His Dark Materials. Me and my girlfriend are struggling to watch stuff together. His Dark Materials is a series we've been watching together since, I think, Christmas. See, by the way, we watched all the first 2 seasons in like a few weeks during COVID. And the last season, which is the season we're currently watching, came out around about December-ish, and we've been struggling to watch it. But we watched a few episodes. Very good season so far. James McAvoy is been very, very good this season. He was very underused in the previous seasons, but in the season he's been very, very good. Franco.
She's Weapon X, so
yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And this apparently, according to Francesca Vella, shout out Francesca Vella, this series stars me, Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yes. Lin-Manuel Miranda, isn't it? Yes. From the promotions I've seen.
He's not in the final season.
Alright,
spoiler. Anyway, so I've been enjoying it. I still keep on. I think I mentioned it in one of our podcasts as well. I'm impressed by how much budget they got for this series, because the effects are bloody great in this.
The bear effects.
The bear effects. They're truly impressive. So yeah, this is a series. You know, one of those series that I'm not going to tell you it's like the best series ever or anything, but it's very good fun, very well made, well written, some good performances, and well worth the time, especially if you like the books. So that's His Dark Materials. I watched episode 2 season of Ted Lasso. They go to play against Chelsea. Yeah. It was a very good episode, very, very good episode. I think I think we're on season 3 right now. Yeah, season 3 is actually upping the quality even more. You can tell there's an even higher budget than the previous seasons. The performances are still as good and still as heartfelt as before, and the overall quality of the series is just incredible. There's a small storyline with Keely, who is the influencer on the left in the poster, which I don't know where it's going, but we'll see. I'm sure it'll develop. But you know, just the kind of like the antagonist of season 3. I won't say who the antagonist is in case you're intending to watch season 2 or season 1 of Ted Lasso. Is great. It's really well set up in season 2, and season 3 is like, oh, so delicious. Such a great antagonist. So I'm really enjoying that. So that's Ted Lasso. Like Joe, I got through another episode of The Mandalorian.
That's exactly how I feel.
Listen, there was some good stuff. Okay, I'll just say visually, it was beautiful. There were some incredible shots.
Visually, the show is extremely expensive. It is clear.
And it not just expensive, though. Like, even some of the shots by Carl Weathers, because Carl Weathers directed this episode, by the way, were beautiful. The shot with the sun.
Yeah, I know. I've got a lot
Katie
of problems in this episode.
I direction-wise, like the way it was directed, I was very happy. But absolutely nothing made sense. I won't continue because I'll just go into a whole rant. But none of this episode made any sense.
Yeah.
Like, none at all. Nothing.
That's why I disagree with you there on the direction. Like, the way it was shot, cinematography, fine, it's good. That's really good, the way it was shot. But its direction and its writing of this episode is
But
all
Carl
over
Weathers
the
can't be
place.
blamed on the writing. He's not the one writing it.
Yes, but then he's also the one directing it.
But I mean, he's given the script and he has to.
Yes, but I
to
mean,
make do with what he has on the script.
the writing is
Can't tell.
writing is probably primarily to blame, but I didn't think it was a well-directed episode as well. It felt
Really? Okay.
it felt amateur, and then, like, no disrespect to Carl Weathers, I love him as an 80s
Amateur?
action star. When the episode finished and it said directed by Carl Weathers, I'm like, that makes kind of sense to me.
Okay, no, I thought it was beautifully directed.
No,
I
like,
thought direction-wise.
Having gone from a previous episode, which I also had problems with, but directed by Lee Isaac Chung of Minari, and then going to this episode of Carl Weathers, it was chalk and cheese in terms of direction. I thought this was
okay.
It felt all over the place.
But that's the blame on the writing again, I think.
No, I
Not
disagree.
on him.
They didn't feel like it didn't feel like anyone was in control in this one. But anyway, we'll get to that in 2
We'll
weeks
get to that
in our
in
rant.
2 weeks' time. Yeah.
So this is
that's
not
the
the way.
Mandalorian.
So
No.
this is not the way.
No,
Not the way.
no. And there's some good stuff. Don't get me wrong, but
It was short. It was short as well. At least it was short. It was only like
at least it was short.
it was only like 36 minutes.
At least it was short. So, final season of Succession. I watched the first episode after work.
Haven't
and
managed yet.
Holy shit.
That's all I want to
Love
know.
it.
That's all I want to know.
Love it.
That's
Love
it.
it.
That's all I want to know.
Love it. I was so happy watching it. Like,
This is already 5 years. This Lalo. This series 5 years already.
It's the last one. now,
Final
though.
season. Final season.
Of course, we have to say that 2 years were just disappeared, like
Yes.
just
Exactly.
from the space-time continuum. But damn, I didn't know it was like 5 years.
But I think Succession is, if the quality of the seasons is kind of like similar to what I just saw in the first episode, which, it's Succession.
Yeah.
I think it's on the way to becoming one of my all-time favorite series, if not my favorite series. I'll always remember Succession as the one series that's one of those things on television that really motivated me to start a YouTube channel. Succession is one of those. Watching it and think, oh man, everything about it, like the way it's shot, its transition from handheld to panning shots, and the music. Oh, the music is so good. and the locations, the settings for this series. I don't know where they found the fucking palaces, and they're everywhere. It's so beautiful, man. And the costumes, their choice of clothing for everyone. That's so good, man. Everything is, and obviously the dialogue. The dialogue is just going from The Mandalorian to this. It's like, what the fuck?
It's like,
what the fuck am I watching?
it's like going from nursery rhymes to Tolkien. Like,
True.
I mean,
true,
it's actually
true.
in Succession they're not wearing masks, so that's already a plus as well. So that's why.
Listen, masks can lead to very good storytelling, but actually that's something to discuss when we discuss The Mandalorian.
Imagine they actually changed the dialogue in post. So most probably they were saying completely different lines on set, and Jay said
Could be.
someone at Disney
wouldn't
went like,
surprise me.
someone this is like, this dialogue needs a bit some, this dialogue isn't there just yet. So they just, like you said, because Pedro Pascal was not there. Pedro Pascal, I think he's busy saving Bella Ramsey now.
Yes.
Good on him. And last thing, reason why I didn't watch that much stuff this week, apart from Sick Girlfriend and whatnot, was the release of a certain video game, which I love, but I have some issues with, and which I'll talk about in my review, but I played a lot of the open beta of Diablo. Oh my god, is it good? Very good in certain aspects. Some issues in other aspects. We'll get to that in my review. But the cutscenes...
The cutscenes of Diablo are always really good, and that's my problem
Incredible.
with Diablo games. The cutscenes are incredible, and they are not representative of what the game is at all.
Diablo 4 will change your opinion on that.
No, but the trailers that they put out for them are like epic, and they're huge. You don't do that kind of stuff in any Diablo game.
Diablo 4 is
Diablo 4 is quite
massive, eh? It's big scale. It's big
I'm
scale.
sure, but
very big scale.
even just the perspective of that kind of like top-down thing, it's not the
No,
same.
no. There's always that.
No.
But that's the style of the game, right? Well, I'll get to that in my review then. Okie dokies. So I think we can transition into the news. Not a massive week with regard to news, but there's been some controversial shit going on. But I think before we get into that controversial stuff, we'll talk about what kind of like triggered like all the storm. And I always like to start off. I think this is a good way to start off.
Can we just say...
By talking.
Can we
Yes,
just say
Franco.
also, like, to our viewers and our listeners, comment on what you have seen and on any news that you might have missed as well.
Definitely. Let us know what you've watched, what you've been playing. Have you tried Diablo 4 beta? Were you stuck for hours and hours in the queue like I was? Let us know in the comment section below. Okay. Box office, because the box office, I think, is one of the main triggers for all the like controversy that came after, right? Because first of all, hats off and applause to John Wick for Chapter 4. Unfortunately, I couldn't go watch it this weekend. I plan to go watch it very soon. But John Wick Chapter 4 apparently didn't need me, because John Wick Chapter 4 knocked down the box office competition, collecting a remarkable 73.5 million in its opening weekend. And that is, brilliant for a John Wick movie. Comparing it with previous movies, the first John Wick made a modest 14 million in 2014. Sequel took in $30.4 million to start in 2017, and John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum made 56.8 million. So it's one of those series of movies where it's a constant rise.
Constant rise.
And there's a reason why, right? There's a clear reason why. So let's stick to that first. Joe, you got to watch it. Obviously, we'll get into the review later on, but is it deserved?
Yes. Yes, it absolutely is. And this is a series where I was worried about when they franchised it, but it is absolutely deserving.
I think the direction that they went through, that I was surprised that they actually dove deep into the lore and opened up the lore. It's like, okay, this is an interesting direction. Which
the mythos.
Yeah, the mythos.
Is so fascinating.
Yeah.
Just,
Something I'm going to slightly disagree with you on, actually.
Okay.
You don't like the mythos?
No, I do.
John Wick.
I love the mythos, but like, why Chapter 2 is my least favorite, because I really liked how in the first John Wick you kind of like just had this world, there was this assassin, and things were presented, but they were never explained. Like when he kills all the guys in his house in the first one, the guys turn up to like pick up the bodies, and he gives them the gold coins, and like you're kind of going like, what is this? And you're really curious. That then he goes to the Continental for the first time, and by him doing things, you learn what is going on, and that's what I loved about the John Wick films. And I still like 2. 2 is still a very good film. What I liked less in 2 is that it felt at times they had to be a bit expositional.
Yeah.
And like to spoil a little bit of my review, the best thing that John Wick Chapter 4 does is it extends the lore all it can, but it does it through people doing things, not through telling you things. Which is, I love it when you can do that, when you can breathe more life into something without having to have a character tell me it.
Interesting. Okay. So that's John Wick. So, we've been talking about a lot of movies which have been doing great at the box office. Creed 3. What else? We mentioned Scream 6 also did very good in the box office.
All franchises, eh?
all franchises, but all not superhero movies, right?
Yeah.
Because on the other hand, then we have movies like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
And
And obviously, oh my God, Shazam 2. Because Shazam 2, it's been a disaster. So Shazam 2 slid to second place with $9.7 million. 9.7 million in its second week. That's a disaster.
Yeah.
And last week we said, so far, Fury of the Gods has earned $46 million after they spent $110 million on it to produce it and $100 million to promote. That is...
What was the budget for John Wick, man? Jesus
Oh my God.
Christ.
That is a horrific loss. They're losing like $150 million there.
150 million. They could have had healthcare in America.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but
Jesus Christ, man. That's a disaster. That's a disaster.
That's a huge flop.
That's
Zalla.
no wonder Rachel Ziegler and Levi, Zachary Levi, have been on social media begging fans to go watch it. Like everyone's, all the stars of Shazam are on Twitter. Please go watch it. It's a great family movie. Go watch this with your family. Don't go watch John Wick. John Wick's not good to watch with your family. Go watch Shazam 2.
Yeah.
And listen, I feel bad saying this because I actually liked Shazam 2, but Jesus, man, this is a disaster. This is a disaster.
Superhero fatigue. Anyone?
But
Anyone out there?
It's the same budget. John Wick for 100 million.
Yeah, but with John Wick 4, they probably used every penny possible to get that film made and the things that they did in it, and it shows. It is obviously an expensive film, but again, I said it there. Superhero fatigue. I think the problem with DC is 1, superhero fatigue. 2, any fans of that DCEU that was before, they know it's going to basically mean nothing now. So why should they show up?
No, it means nothing. Oh, and I'm curious about The Flash, because we know that The Flash will kind of restart the whole thing, kind of like, will people go watch it? And especially considering the positive feedback there has been so far. We talked about Tom Cruise watching it and whatnot. Franco?
I was going to say, if Tom Cruise said it's good, it must be good.
Yeah. I think because of that and because of the announcement that it's going to restart things, I think, yes, people will go watch that one. No one's going to watch Aquaman. I think 10 people are going to go watch that film.
Oh, and that's $1 billion, That's a $1 billion
Oh
franchise.
my God.
That made $1 billion, man, in the box office when it came out. One of the those questions that you ask yourself: what is the meaning of life? Why am I here on Earth? And how did Aquaman make $1 billion in the box office?
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing I ask myself every night.
Imagine Aquaman coming out together with the Little Mermaid. And secondly, I was imagine Tom Cruise coming up and going like, I didn't do that shit. I didn't say anything about Flash. It's like, oh my God. And then he goes around and like, go watch Mission Impossible,
Yeah.
But Flash also has certain like member berries. You've got Michael Keaton. Everyone loves Michael Keaton. And that will pull in maybe certain boomers to go watch it as well. Because I think that's another issue with superhero movies. People over the age of 30 are basically completely lost with these kinds of movies at this point.
Yeah,
right now.
Eva,
I think
you're right.
they used to manage to follow. And there was a mention about John Wick, about the average age. It's like 70% of the people who watched John Wick Chapter 4 in America were over the age of 40, I believe.
Yeah. But you say that as well. A really funny story about when I went to go watch John Wick. It was literally the case of my girlfriend and I had nothing to do on Saturday night. I wanted to go watch something. We found a good deal at our local cinema. I'm like, I want to go watch John Wick Chapter 4. But she's like, I've only seen the first one. And I'm like, it really doesn't matter. I can explain to you what happens in the next 2 in a 3-minute conversation. And you'll have everything you need to know. And not even that, the film does enough in its opening 25 minutes to bring even a newbie up to scratch of what you could go into this film having never seen the first John Wick, and you'll get what's going on. You might not be as connected to the character or to the other characters in general, but you'll get the plot of what's going on. Not like, as you say, like people over the age of 30 don't want to go watch superhero movies. Why? Because to understand the new one, they have to do a fucking university thesis on 30 other ones.
That's very smart. That's very smart. And Franco, I think we discussed this once. It was me, you, Francesca, when I had told you that Kevin Feige, in the past, because now it's impossible to do that, used to have a decree with all his movies that anyone can go into a Marvel movie, watch it, and even if that person has never watched any other Marvel movie, they will get what's going on. They don't need to have watched the previous like fucking 25 movies. Now that's no longer the case.
Yeah, I would say
on Marvel movies.
Yeah, the ones that are like that, probably Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, the first 2 Captain Americas, and the first 2 Thors. Those ones you can go in without knowing anything, and you'll get what's going on, because like Winter Soldier is totally detached almost from the MCU.
True.
If anything, it brings in more people into the MCU. I think everyone forgot about Iron Man 2 and the fact that Mickey Rourke is in that film.
What's his name? Mickey Rourke in the...
I couldn't even tell you. He had like electric tentacles.
Electric
that was the car race scene. Car race scene.
Electric whips.
Fuck. I watched that in the cinema.
Yeah,
I remember watching
like
that
the
in
electric
the
whips, and
cinema.
he was Russian. He was obsessed with his like pet bird.
Yes, he was Russian.
I remember going to watch that with my friends, and all we did was like make fun of Mickey Rourke's bad Russian accent. Thinking back, the Iron Man standalone films were not good, guys.
Pretty bad. Iron Man 3. Jesus, that was awful. And I went to watch that in the cinema as well. Like, 1 was great. 1 set up the character perfectly.
I mean...
1 was very good.
Whiplash. That's what's his name. Whiplash.
Good one.
His name was actually Whiplash.
In Iron Man 2, yes.
Oh, okay. I think... Anyways, this big disaster for Shazam 2 in the box office, I think the loss is at around 150 million, more or less, give or take. By the way, John Wick reached 137.5 million globally, because that was in America, 137.5 million. So it's already making a profit, because production and filming took a bit more than 100 million. So it's already in the profits, which is great. But definitely Shazam 2 is not making a profit. And obviously, once a movie does horribly in the box office, the blame game starts. And so this past week, we've been seeing a lot of crying on social media, specifically Instagram, because first we had Zachary Levi sharing a story about Dwayne Johnson not allowing certain characters from the Justice Society to appear in Shazam 2, and also the fact that Dwayne Johnson did not allow Zachary Levi to appear in one of the post-credit scenes in Black Adam.
So it was
Shazam, apparently.
It was The Rock's fault after.
I don't know how much it is The Rock's fault, to be honest. I mean, I understand The Rock's point of view that he wanted, his movie to be about his character Black Adam and just Black Adam, and that's it. But then, of course, Superman appears.
Yeah,
in one of the
I was going to
post-credit
say,
scenes.
I get that part. Yes, okay, have the movie about your character. But if we're speaking of who in the DC wider universe of comics, who, like, the two main adversaries Shazam has are Dr. Sivana and Black Adam. Like, okay, there are crossovers and Superman has fought Black Adam, but it does feel like a bit of a thing from The Rock of, like, I'm such a powerful movie star, I'm going to bring back Superman in my movie because people care about Superman. You know? Because, I mean, Shazam, it was well received, the first movie, but it wasn't it's not Superman. Everyone knows who Superman is. And to put that in your movie, it does feel a little bit pompous. And then if you even told Zachary Levi, no, I don't want you turning up as the person I'm going to be fighting from here on out, even though that would make canonical sense. But
Exactly. Also important to remember, guys, that Dwayne The Rock Johnson and Henry Cavill's agent are the same person.
Yep.
Dwayne Johnson's wife, right? So there's that to keep in mind as well. That probably had an effect on all of this. I keep saying that's probably one of the main reasons why Henry Cavill was removed as Superman. apart from the obvious age
Yeah.
issue. So there's that. Then, for some reason, Zachary Levi started to blame a bunch of people on Twitter. He blamed Zack Snyder fans for some reason. He said, I think Zack Snyder fans are celebrating that Shazam 2 is doing horribly in the box office. And he blamed families for not going to watch it, and instead going to watch John Wick. and literally, I heard him say this. He was like, John Wick is great. I love John Wick. But, guys, go watch Shazam 2. Shazam 2 is a true family movie. People aren't understanding this is a true family movie. You should go watch this, not John Wick. And I'm like, dude, you're begging for people to go watch your movie on social media. This is fucking pathetic.
It's desperate,
John Wick is a family movie. There's puppies in it. And dogs as well. There's
it's pathetic.
It's sad because, like, as someone who liked Zachary Levi from the moment I first saw him in Chuck, because that was one of my old favorite TV shows, and I liked him as Shazam. This is going to ruin him with big studios. This kind of outburst. It's just as bad as like being involved in something shady, like something like that, as we'll get to later with other actors. No one wants to touch you if you're going to come out and throw hands with everyone and blame everyone else.
If I may say, and just to be charitable to Zachary Levi, I think also like working so hard on a movie, in an atmosphere where there's superhero fatigue, and then seeing all this money being lost and whatnot. I mean, it's an outburst that, despite it being pathetic, I think it would be natural to have people like telling them, almost begging, unfortunately, to go watch a movie. But as Joe rightfully said, I mean, we've had enough of superhero movies, and John Wick is a breath of fresh air, especially as far as action goes.
It is. I mean, actually seeing stuntmen crash into cars and seeing like actual physical things happen, and not just an explosion of CGI is already. I was rewatching the John Wick movies in the past couple of weeks, like just to take a breath of fresh air after watching.
Gritty, and what
and
is
real.
Visceral.
Everything feels real, very visceral. Like car crashes are actually cars crashing. Like people hitting each other, actually people hitting each other. People flying and falling on the floor, actually stuntmen flying and falling on the floor. Or Keanu Reeves falling down all those steps. I mean, and it's real, it feels real. And don't tell me that CGI recreates the stuff. I mean, I'm not one of those guys who says CGI is lazy. CGI is not lazy at all.
Unless you're a giraffe.
Takes a ton of work.
Unless you're a giraffe, because I showed you guys that, and I had the mark. It is a mix. It was a mix of CGI and real stuff. But it makes a whole lot of difference to also have the thing, the actual thing on set as well. No,
100%. Yeah. And one last thing, I want to mention this. He also compares Shazam 2 to the Goonies and E.T.
Later.
He's like, oh, it's like one of those 1980s family movies, like the Goonies or E.T. This is why families should go watch this, and not John Wick Chapter 4.
I'm like, dude. He has wildly misjudged this, because there is, like, he could have been very much just, like, disappointed with the numbers of people going to watch it, and put out a tweet just like, look, we all worked really hard on this. It's a movie with a lot of heart.
True.
Please go watch it. You can do that with a sense of decorum.
Like Rachel Ziegler. Rachel Ziegler put that exact tweet, almost your exact same words.
Yeah, but coming out and trying to compare it to two of the biggest ever family movies of all time, and telling people not to watch something else, and then it's this person's fault, and it's that person's fault, then you make yourself look like a bit of a dickhead.
Joe's spitting facts.
I'm trying to find Rachel Ziegler's tweet.
No, speaking of dickheads.
Good segue.
I guess.
Good segue.
Frank offered us the perfect segue to...
No, well, actually, I want to preface this. Alleged.
Allegedly.
Nothing is confirmed, because, guys, for all we know, he's completely innocent, and then we look like the dickheads. So for now, this is all alleged.
100%.
Apparently so far it's not the evidence. Circumstantial evidence points that it's
yes. It doesn't look good for him. Let's put it that way.
No, it does not. No, it does not. However, as you might have heard this past weekend, some pretty worrying news came out with regard to the actions of a certain Jonathan Majors, who is also the front cover right now of the MCU, the big bad guy, the antagonist, who decided to go a bit too much into the method acting style. And, well, let's get into it. So, let's start off with the reactions by Jonathan Majors' lawyer first, who said that, obviously, completely innocent, provably the victim, apparently he's the victim, not due to, after being charged with assault and harassment in what New York Police Department described as a domestic dispute. Jonathan Majors is completely innocent and is provably the victim of an altercation with a woman he knows, says criminal defense lawyer Priya Chaudhry. We are quickly gathering and presenting evidence to the district attorney with the expectation that all charges will be dropped imminently. All the evidence proves that Mr. Majors is entirely innocent and did not assault her whatsoever. Unfortunately, this incident came about because this woman was having an emotional crisis for which she was taken to a hospital yesterday. NYPD is required to make an arrest in those situations, and this is the only reason Mr. Majors was arrested. We expect these charges to be dropped soon. Chaudhry's statement provides additional information about the incident. Police in New York said they responded to a 911 call at a Chelsea apartment. Majors, who was 33 years old, was taken into custody without incident on Saturday night. The unnamed victim, a 30-year-old woman, was taken to the hospital after with minor injuries to her head and neck, according to authorities. Police statement listed strangulation, assault, and harassment as potential charges, but he was ultimately charged with 2 counts of assault in the 3rd degree, attempted assault in the 3rd degree, aggravated harassment in the 2nd degree, and harassment in the 2nd degree, each of which are misdemeanors or lesser charges. Oof, this does not look good. This does not look good. Guys, your thoughts?
Well, this does not mean that I'm letting him go scot-free. I think we have to wait. We have to wait and see. I think that this kind of news. Unfortunately, we see the headline and we immediately make a reaction. I have to be the one that, even though I have to admit, I'm calling myself out when I was like, oh fuck, not him again, not this guy, because he seemed, from the interviews, he seemed like he's a genuinely cool guy, and then seeing all those tweets, and it's messy, it's a messy situation. We'll wait and see. And if we want to make it more of this is a very specific issue, but if you want to look at from a macro perspective, I think, because apparently she recanted her allegations as well.
Yes, I'm reading that exactly right now because I went onto Twitter, because Twitter is always great to find out the latest news.
Twitter is not.
No, as in,
okay,
you find like articles like on the dot.
Okay.
So I'm going through, about the phone call. Apparently, police sources say that Majors called 911 himself to report his concern about his girlfriend with whom he lives. Now, apparently, before this whole thing happened, there is evidence on Reddit that there are photos of him with his girlfriend watching an Oscar Isaac play, apparently, in New York. So they went to watch a play, and the whole story started right after the play, apparently.
And I'm sorry, why
allegedly, according to Reddit.
Why exactly? Why is Reddit doing this thing? No.
There are photos. There are photos of Jonathan Majors there with his girlfriend.
Yeah. So what?
Like they were there.
That is evidence to the police, not on Reddit.
Oh, but you know how Reddit is.
I don't know, but there was also the guy saying that this guy is a sociopath.
Yes. Then there were some director. There was a director. I forgot his name. Continue, you guys are discussing it whilst I look up
something LL, as far as I remember.
Wasn't it A.B. Allen? Was he a director?
A.B. Allen, that's the
yeah,
guy,
A.B.
that's the guy.
A.B. Allen, and there's
Yeah.
another guy who was like, he worked in theater with Jonathan Majors as well.
Yeah, and apparently someone who went to Yale with him said that he was problematic back when he was at Yale.
But you see, there's another problem there. Someone said, who is this someone?
That's what I mean.
So,
yeah.
here we go. This was the original tweet. There's a particular actor, relatively new on the scene, who Twitter has violently fallen head over heels for. By the way, this is February, who in actuality is a vicious, cruel, abusive human being, both professionally and in his personal life. And every new viral thirst tweet about him drives me insane. Everything I've known about has not been physical. It's not a huge leap at all for emotionally violent, professionally abusive people to become physically violent as well, but I was not made aware of it. This is uniquely horrific and very grave. So,
And you see, it's
and now he's blocked his Twitter.
well, because they're dragging him most probably. I mean,
And big news websites have been picking up on this as well.
cloud farming. Honestly, I think it's come to a point. I even just speaking of this, even Justin Roiland was cleared as well recently, but Justin Roiland is apparently go for it.
Justin Roiland has been cleared of assault. They haven't delved into the fact that he was messaging underage girls. This is
Justin Roiland. When all is said and done, he is not an alleged dickhead apparently, because even work. There at least there are sources that corroborate the fact that it wasn't even working. Even Dan Harmon and him were not on speaking terms. So that is corroborated.
No, we spoke about that, remember, on the podcast.
Yeah.
Like he was going in, like joking around, not doing any work.
And the problem with Justin Roiland is he's doubling down on it. It's like, I was innocent after all. Someone was like, dude, shut the fuck up,
And say the non-contact with Harmon doesn't surprise me, because Harmon has been someone who has been problematic in his career. But he's extremely self-reflective, and he's been open about it, and he's been like, I need to work on myself. And that's why he's distanced himself from a lot of things. Social media was a main kind of like catalyst in everything that he used to do. And he is a very, he says it openly, incredibly narcissistic person. And he doesn't do well with power. Like he kind of outed himself, where he said he used his power to kind of treat someone badly whom he worked with, and he regrets it, and he can't apologize to them enough. But it's good because he's self-aware and he's worked on that stuff.
Yeah, he would be a great example to follow, in this kind of situations. It has these kind of cases have become so much. Sorry, I'm going to invent a word. Twitterified,
You're 100%.
But it's true, because it's like, how the fuck are these photos on Reddit and not given to the police? One thing, Twitter. There's this guy. First he goes off like, oh, I have some spicy gossip, and then he blocks his account. I mean, don't spit out shit and then not show up for it.
Yeah.
Allegedly again, because now, but that's I think. The conclusion is a question mark. Let's see what happens.
It's a question mark.
Yeah,
it's a question
let's see
mark.
what happens. If it is true, shame on him. If it is not true, shame on the guy who started it all.
And obviously, there's always the fear that, listen, behind Jonathan Majors right now is a massive, massive corporation in Disney who are depending on him for the next phase
10 on
as
10,
the big baddie.
10 on 10 segue.
And I'm just going to say this before I use that segue. And I wonder if a corporation like Disney would be brave enough to pay off the victim in this, if she is the victim in this situation, obviously.
This he bet them to it, though, with Ezra Miller, because they were unhinged as well. But they are also getting help as well, Ezra Miller.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. So that's the Jonathan Major news. Moving on to
get a quick mention. I think we forget that stars are human and complex.
Yeah.
We have to, because like when I mentioned Ezra Miller, like I said, they are getting help. And then Harmon also called himself out, and it's like I think it's one of the most beautiful things that you can see on internet of him saying, you know what, I'm a dickhead. I did some really horrible shit, and that is something that we rarely see. Instead, we get loads of Tate and crying Jordan Peterson. Oh, I'm so alive, man. Anyway, sorry, I forgot Jordan Peterson is human.
That was a bit pathetic, though.
Which one?
The Jordan Peterson one.
That he cried.
Oh,
yeah.
Anyways, let's not go into that. Okay, moving on to more MCU disasters. I really want to watch Argentina 1985, and this story piqued my interest in it even more, because this whole Victoria Alonso being fired over a contract breach is interesting. Apparently, well, it's a very, very long story. I'm going to shorten it really quickly. Victoria Alonso, who has been basically at the MCU from the very beginning, she was one of the trio of Esposito, Feige, and there was her. And her responsibility was the VFX, right? VFX and production of physical production and the digital production, basically. So she had a big responsibility, and I understand her plate was full and something. Anyways, what's the story, guys? So Alonso was fired, apparently, according to a new report in THR, over her involvement in the Oscar-nominated drama Argentina 1985, which was distributed by Amazon Studios, and she was a producer on the film, and this apparently breached her contract, because apparently Disney do not allow her to produce other movies with other big studios, right? Now, apparently, the controversy increased even more because apparently Disney warned her that, listen, this is going to be an issue. But then she went to the Oscars representing Argentina 1985 and not Black Panther, which had a couple of nominations in the last Oscars as well for Angela Bassett and costumes. But she went to represent Argentina 1985 in the Oscars. And I think that was the final kind of like push, which led to her being fired. Apparently, Alonso never got permission for any of this, right? And now, obviously, her attorney denies this, says it's not true, says that she always got permission from Disney for this. The idea that Victoria was fired over a handful of press interviews relating to a personal passion project about human rights and democracy, was nominated for an Oscar, and which she got Disney's blessing to work on, is absolutely ridiculous. Victoria, a gay Latina who had the courage to criticize Disney, was silenced. Then she was terminated when she refused to do something she believed was reprehensible. Disney and Marvel made a really poor decision that will have serious consequences. There's a lot more to this story, and Victoria will be telling it shortly in one forum or another. Like I said, she was responsible for Marvel's physical production, post-production, VFX, and animation, which has been, to put it lightly, under fire for a number of reasons. Guys, your thoughts about this? It's another hot story. Joe?
I didn't know about this one. The Victoria Alonso stuff, I had heard of what we're going to go into after this, of what she's accused of. And now knowing this, I kind of go like, is it true or is it smear campaign? You know? With what we're going to go into. It's really tough because, like, maybe it wasn't her contract that she can't do other things, and if that's the case, then you can't breach your contract, and Disney have all the right to fire her if you've done something like that. But then, at the same time, it's Disney, and they're probably mostly pieces of shit, like the higher-ups. I wouldn't put it past them getting annoyed that they probably gave her permission to do Argentina 1985, and it did really well, and she represented it, and they got pissed off, so they fired her because of it. You know, it's a really it's confusing me. That's what I'll say.
It is.
I'm gonna say this. I think we're seeing less filmmaking and more politics now. I mean, it's,
yes.
we don't know. Again, it's just like, this person said, it's a he said, she said situation. But now I think we're repeating ourselves. It's all news that VFX under Marvel is a hot mess. I mean, hot mess is downplaying it for a bit, quite a bit. But yeah, we're not going to repeat ourselves. Like, VFX artists unionized. That's my take.
Definitely. Everybody, this is another one of those stories where we're like, who's saying the truth, right? Like Joe said, like, it's hard to tell. Because on one side of the argument, I'm like, yeah, go girl, like, fight the fucking over masters in Disney. But at the same time, I'm like, maybe Ashata, and you're like trying to picture yourself as the, like, I hate to say this, but as the victim in all this. There is a bit of victim-splaining in the explanation by her lawyer, I think.
In a sense, like, there was one VFX worker says that no, like, Victoria Alonso is not an island. There's a multitude of factors working to make the working environment in Marvel untenable. But
100%. Listen, we can't blame the poor VFX on Victoria Alonso. Let's put it that way.
She could be the scapegoat. She could be the perp as well. But I think if she was in the beginning, and it's only now that's gone on overdrive, Marvel, right, with all those series and whatnot.
That's why I said at the start, she has too much on her plate, to be honest, with this kind of stuff. And obviously then Disney looking at her focusing more on Argentina 1985 rather than all those on fucking She-Hulk and Hawkeye and all that shit on Disney Plus. I don't think Disney were too happy about that.
Put yourself into her shoes. What would you have done? It's like you're working on stuff that you clearly is not giving you any passion anymore, and then you have this kind of very important story. What should you have done if you put yourself into her shoes? Well, let's hear it from the listeners and the viewers. What would you have done if you were into her shoes?
I mean, what would you want to focus on? She-Hulk or Argentina 1985? This like passion project you've been working on, this massive political documentary movie.
Mux ovvja, Andrea. She-Hulk.
So obviously, again, this is another one of those, we don't know the truth. It's hard to tell, but we'll find out. This is definitely another one of those stories which will develop in the coming weeks. I'm gonna skim through the last pieces of news, guys, because of time reasons. But really quickly, have you seen the photo of Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn?
I have.
There's been some hype about this. Joe?
Yeah. It looks okay.
Bit of a mess, to be honest, but maybe that's the whole point.
Yeah, I don't know if I've spoken about this before. I don't love Todd Phillips' Joker, like, at all. I think it's like pretty good, but and this is me as someone who like adores the character of the Joker. I think it's fine.
By the way, where does the Joker fall into the universe of DC?
It doesn't.
Is it?
It's Otherworlds.
Yeah.
Otherwords. Okay.
Yeah, 100% Otherworlds.
Yeah, and I kind of like, probably Joker would have grown more on me had it just been one film. I feel like now that they're like kind of franchising this version of the Joker
into a musical, by the way.
We'll see what that actually means.
I read about that. I don't think it's actually going to be a musical. There's just going to be some songs in it. Because I think the whole musical part was blown up by Twitter and social media. But all they said was there are going to be some songs in it. Which, I mean, makes sense. You've got Lady Gaga. I mean, might as well use her talents, right?
Yeah, I feel the costume is lazy. Like, what I actually did like in Joker the costume was unique, and it had accents and like kind of like nods to old versions of Joker. Even like the makeup kind of looking like the clown mask that Heath Ledger wears at the beginning of The Dark Knight.
True.
Stuff like that. This just looks like, okay, her name's Harley Quinn, so we're going to put a Harlequin pattern on her shirt.
Yeah.
You know? When I look at that person, I go like, and this is being kind of like as respectful as possible. That looks like someone who is doing a walk of shame after a long night out and has poorly done their makeup.
It's not.
It doesn't look good.
It's not Margot Robbie Harlequin. Because Margot Robbie Harlequin was a bit more.
To be fair, I didn't like the first version of Margot Robbie Harley Quinn. I liked what James Gunn then did with her when they removed a lot of the tattoos. Even though some of them were cool, the ones they kept were very cool. But yeah, I'm like, I don't have much of an opinion on this. I try not to when it comes to Todd Phillips's work. So
Shots fired.
I get called a hater, and that I don't know anything about films when I say Joker is just okay and it's not a masterpiece.
Talking about Twitter, guys, this is apparently a scene being filmed of Joker.
I love you too, Altila.
So that's a scene from Matt Ramos is someone you can. I mean, he's a decent enough journalist.
Shout out Matt Ramos, decent enough journalist. let's invite him over. He's a decent enough journalist.
Decent enough.
He has the email. We should actually.
Mr. Decent enough journalist.
So clip him and send him an email.
Hey man,
we want you on
you come flying on.
We want you on the podcast.
So that's a quick note on the Harley Quinn, Lady Gaga kind of costume and whatnot. Really quick note. I don't know if you guys heard of Damon Lindelof being dropped out from Star Wars.
I mean, at this point, I think everyone who was meant to direct the Star Wars film is being dropped off.
I went through a whole list. You know, there was Phil Lord and Chris Miller who were meant to do a solo movie. Yeah. Zack Snyder. There was Josh Trank who was meant to do a Boba Fett movie. There was obviously the Rian Johnson trilogy.
Apparently that one's still on the cards, people say.
Oh, it's not.
I'm here for it if it is.
It's not. Trust me, it's not. Obviously the Game of Thrones, David Benioff and D.B. Weiss.
Yes.
Star Wars film. There's the Patty Jenkins one, and they actually presented that. They made a whole big deal about her father, who was in the.
Yeah, because she was going to do a Rogue Squadron film, wasn't she?
She was going to do a Rogue Squadron movie.
I kind of love the idea of that.
Yeah.
It's dropped.
Oh, because her father was a pilot. Her father was a pilot, exactly. Gareth Edwards, he was going to do Rogue One. So many movies.
No, Gareth Edwards did do Rogue One.
It's true.
Gareth Edwards.
Yes.
Gareth Edwards did do Rogue One.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I'm mixing up with someone else then. So Gareth Edwards did do Rogue One. So someone else was meant to do Rogue One. I don't know. Anyways, so long story short, let's say that the leadership at Lucasfilm has not been too stable.
Oh, Disney, not Lucasfilm. I mean, Lucasfilm.
No, but let's put it this way. Kathleen Kennedy, her days are numbered. Let's put it that way. But they did get a very good, someone I really, really like. And we mentioned Franco before we started the podcast, went through some of his movies. Locke, he has Taboo, the series. Obviously, he's got Peaky Blinders and some other very good stuff.
Peaky
This is a great
Blinders.
I think Taboo is one of the all-time most underrated series. I think it's a series everyone should watch.
I've seen the first series.
Brilliant
the
series.
only series of Taboo.
I loved it. What do you think about it, Josh?
It was pretty good. Some of it was hit and miss, but it was pretty good. I like Tom Hardy, so.
I do as well. Anyways, they got Stephen Knight to take David Lindelof's place.
What?
New.
Scroll down again. what's that? Was that Everything Everywhere filmmakers?
Yep.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
they're going to be doing Skeleton Crew as well, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. That's
they're
why
just
I didn't
directing
mention
an
it.
episode.
Directing, and then that's pretty much it.
Okay.
And they literally told people to calm down. They're not setting out. They just want to be able to pay for health insurance.
Exactly. That was so funny. We just need to pay for healthcare.
Which I get it.
I mean, we saw how much Shazam costed. Like I said,
Yes.
they could have financed the American health insurance system.
Important thing is they ask for the paycheck before and not after.
Yeah.
True. Not down payment.
That's exactly. So there's that, guys. I don't know if there's anything you would like to mention about the Stephen Knight news.
Good luck to
Much
Stephen
talk
Knight.
about,
Oh,
to be honest.
good luck to Stephen
Yeah.
Knight.
Best of luck in that very probably fucking terrible environment.
He's going to do 3 months, and then after Kathleen Kennedy is fired, he'll probably get fired as well due to creative differences. The Vertigo remake.
That's a great.
No.
The fuck was this?
No.
Like, I saw this news on Prickly Pears. I forgot who posted it. It's like, shit, man. I rewatched Vertigo like 2-3 weeks ago, and it's a perfect movie. And I just keep it. There's Vertigo.
No, I mean, why don't they pull? I think, why don't they pull a Park Chan-wook? Park Chan-wook actually got a novel based. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know it was called Fingersmith. It was based in Victorian England, and he just adapted it to Japan occupied Korea, the Handmaiden. So why not do that? You know, it's like
It's because, Franco, I think it's because it tends to be the case, right, that in everywhere but Hollywood, people are really creative and they like doing new spins on the stuff. In Hollywood, we don't. We like doing the same thing again and again and again. You know?
Yep.
That's what I think.
So much so it gives you vertigo. Sorry for the joke, but anyway.
Yes.
And before we create the Vertigo franchise, Vertigo 2.
The Marvelization of Hitchcock.
You know, listen, I don't, you know what I hope they don't do a remake of, Andrea?
Eh?
You know what I hope they don't do a remake of?
They don't. Of what?
Empty Man.
Imagine the remake comes out and I still haven't watched the original.
one.
Man. That would be really sad. Holy shit. I don't get that. Jokes aside, I really don't get the thought process behind this. It's not like Vertigo has a massive. I mean, it's obviously a brilliant movie. Like this is for me, it's a perfect movie.
Look,
but it's not like there's people clamoring in the streets.
No, that's what I mean.
Need a Vertigo remake.
No one is asking for this. No one.
No one is asking for this.
Look, if it's made with the lens of, I think, because here's the thing, because it's an iconic movie, and if it's done. Who's going to direct it?
I don't know if there has been mentioned. I know that Robert Downey Jr. was mentioned to star in it.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to produce and possibly star in it at Paramount.
If a woman director does it, it would really give it a new dimension.
I mean, Franco, like you said, what they had to do is I mean, that could be the case, because then you would be giving it a completely different point of view. But I think for a remake like this to make sense, you need to completely, totally change the culture. Take this movie, turn it into a sci-fi thriller in Korea, for example.
Yeah, do something unique.
Do something creative.
Yeah.
Unique,
set
exactly.
it in Tolkien's Middle Earth. Go crazy with it.
Exactly.
For sure. I'm trying to see if it was based on a Patricia Highsmith novel. Yes, it not a Patricia Highsmith novel, but it was From Among the Dead by Boileau Narcejac. So,
but anyways, this news. And Stephen Knight, by the way, will be writing the script, talking about Stephen Knight. That was fuck! I missed that segue. God damn it.
Which gives a bit of hope, but still,
I don't have an opinion on this because
Go down.
I don't really care about this.
I haven't read. So go down.
D'entre les morts.
The Living and
Or
the Dead.
The Living and the Dead. I'm
So
not going
you
to say
see,
that
so
name
you
and
see,
surname.
so you see, so if there's it's already a different. That's what Hitchcock did great in it. It is set in Paris during the height of World War II. So
Have you guys seen the remake of Psycho? I have it.
Gus Van Sant. It's a short.
Ah.
It's a search for short. It's kind of like what Haneke did with his Funny Games movie.
Why did Haneke do that? Why did he make a really good film? You know what? I'm gonna do it again, but in English.
But it's also. I think he did say something as a comment for Hollywoods. Speaking of remakes.
Yeah, I find it a bizarre move.
That's such a good movie, man. Funny Games.
But the thing is, like, how do you pitch that to a studio? You go, okay, guys, I've got a project on the horizon. You go to these producers. They go, okay, Michael, sit down, tell us what this. You remember my 1996 movie, Funny Games? And they're like, yeah, that was a really good film. Like, it was very divisive, but like, yeah, we like that movie a lot. Why? Okay, I'm gonna get Naomi Watts and Michael Pitt, and we're gonna do Funny Games again. That's it. That's the pitch.
And they actually invest.
That's the pitch.
They actually invest.
Take
How
the
did-
money.
Money into it.
Yeah, how did the producers go like, yeah, okay, we'll give you a couple million to do this? Like, this sounds good, right?
We'll see. We'll see. But
some-
there's so many angles you can like. We've seen the storyline of the book. That's already so different, as well.
Uh-huh.
And Hitchcock used to do this a lot, especially with Patricia Highsmith books. In any case, something that gives us even more vertigo, Andrea.
Yes. Is a certain game called Fortnite.
I have an update for
Now-
us.
Yes, so.
News update. Okay, this was 13 minutes ago. Jonathan Majors charged with multiple counts of assault and harassment by New York District Attorney after his arrest. He's officially been charged.
Yes, exactly. So,
Dun, dun.
Not looking
Dum,
good.
dum, dum.
Usually when you're charged,
Not
that
looking
means
good.
that there's like grounds for it to be
There's-
true.
evidence.
Yeah.
Right? The DA has seen the evidence and they're pushing.
Yeah. We'll see. Spicy. We'll see what
I'll
happens.
see. It was very spicy.
Tune in for the next episode to find out, guys.
Yes, the next episode, I'll find out what happens to Jonathan Majors. But I wanted to mention this because I feel that sometimes we skip out on gaming a bit too much. And I think this was much bigger than a lot of people are giving it credit. Because in the past week, I'm trying to find the trailer for this, but in the meantime, I want to describe it. The past week, we saw Unreal Creator for Unreal Engine 5, which is bloody incredible.
Yeah.
Literally, people can create literally their own games, and it's bloody incredible. This was the tech demo. No, this is the original tech demo. No, this is the original one. No, I think this was the original one.
Yeah.
Though I have to find the Fortnite one. Fortnite Creator.
So, guys, when you try to find something on YouTube, this is how to do it. So, welcome to the tutorial on finding. It's Fitfa. Oh,
is it this one?
yeah, that looks like it. It's the same dragon.
I think this was it. Anyways, so what this does, this is the one. So what this does is basically it's people have all the tools to create whatever map they want using the real Unreal Engine 5, which is a bloody incredible engine. So right now it's the best engine by far in gaming. And the potential with this is fucking insane. The fact that a game like Fortnite, which I know everyone, it's popular to like hate on Fortnite, and I understand why. It's gimmicky as fuck. I've played it. I enjoy it, to be honest with you. I'm not one of the Fortnite haters, but the game mechanics are so smooth and so fun. And an engine like this just gives you so much potential, and this, you can do whatever you want with it, basically. And I see this incredible potential for this. I don't know about you guys, but I'm so excited to see like what creative people can do with this. Now they have the resources to use. As far as I know, they're free.
We're gonna get more TikToks about people saying, "Hey, if you're 22 and you still don't have a Lamborghini, you're doing the wrong stuff. You should go.
Oh no!
you should get a real engine and start monetizing on the games." You know,
like the shadow, the shadow and lighting on this engine is just fucking insane. Like this lighting, this particular lighting here.
The rendering is amazing, and they have a really smart technology where the closer the thing is to the camera, the more rendered it is, and the farther away it is from camera, the less rendered it is, and it helps so much to save up on resources, and it's very smart. And it makes sense because when it is like far away, the details are not as important as such, but still, it's amazing. And guys, I showed you. I leave it up to you, Andrea, to show this incredible.
Before I move into that game, Joe, I don't know if there's anything you'd like to say about this.
No, I mean, I agree with you with the potential that this kind of unlocks for creatives out there. It's going to be endless. Like, I don't know if you've heard of the game Dreams, where Dreams...
No, I haven't.
Dreams isn't really a game, but it's from the makers of Little Big Planet.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love that game.
But the point of Dreams is you create dreams, I guess. You create like your own levels, and you can create anything. People have like recreated like old Star Wars games in it, stuff like that, because the tools are there. So I can't imagine what this is going to do, having Unreal Engine 5 at your fingertips, basically.
It reminds me of the Age of Empires map builder, but you can also like you can also create your own games in it as well.
Yeah.
Oh, true. This is incredible. But taking Franco's segue into a trailer of
Senua.
A game that looks
Senua Saga.
bloody incredible.
I can't wait for this game. Can't wait.
And that is exactly Senua Saga, Hellblade.
The first one
2.
is incredible in terms of its like depiction of like mental health and even just like its horror aspects and its everything. Really, really good. It's one of those like you can finish it in 6 hours. It's when it's released when it's released brand new. It was released at like half the price of a regular game because it's a fairly short experience. But like it wasn't perfect the first game. Like some of the combat is a bit simple, but again, its ideas were so good. And then now you see what they're doing with this with Unreal Engine 5. It's going to be incredible. Again, one of the best things it had in the first game was the sound design. They actually, before you start the game, they say, look, to get the best experience out of this, play this game with a good set of headphones.
Yeah.
Because the first game, the character Senua is going through like an extreme psychosis. So
these transitions,
you literally have
so
at certain
good.
times
This transition.
you'll get like different whispers in your ears, and like friends of mine who like struggle with anxiety and stuff like that. They're like, that game I couldn't play like in long stretches because it would make me freak out with anxiety and the way it would do things. And they consulted with I don't know how many different like experts and psychologists and psychiatrists on how best to depict certain things. It's really unique as a game.
Graphically, how was the first one, Joe?
For the time, incredibly solid. And
was it Unreal Engine?
Yes, it was, but it like because it wasn't a very big game, and Ninja Theory weren't in a great place at the time, it probably didn't have the most resources. But if you take into account it came out, I think like 7 years ago or something, it was a very good looking game.
7 years ago. Like it's when I saw some gameplay from the first one, and the second one's like, holy shit, leaps and bounds, man.
The second one looks. There was a gameplay trailer for the second one. It looks fucking ridiculous.
Look, and the first one, I saw the trailer of the first one. I'm like, holy shit, man.
Yeah, it's so unique. Like the kind of like Norse influence it has. It's very cool.
I said, in fact, this gives Northman vibes.
Yes, 100%. It's like the kind of like fever dream part you have in the Northman. It's like that, but for a game.
Yeah. I want to watch the Northman again now. Suddenly. I want to admire. Sorry, I'm objectifying Alexander Skarsgård. I'm sorry.
I'll allow it.
But that it gives off that vibes and the lighting and the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it had the supernatural element in it as well, but yes, but the psychosis element in it as well. It's I think this is one of those games that are like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to play this game, even from a non-gamer perspective.
You'll enjoy it as a non-gamer because it's, as I said, it's very unique, very cinematic, very driven. It is all about its story and its themes, the whole thing.
Sure.
So
do you fight, or I don't think
you do, but the combat is pretty simple. That's probably like the thing I can criticize it most. Its combat is effective, but it's very simple.
But I remember reading about this game. Isn't it also that the system fights against you because of your psychosis, of the character's psychosis?
How do you mean the system?
I forgot. They had this game mechanic where you're trying to fight, but because of your psychological.
Yeah. It wasn't really that, but it did have one thing which kind of like it made big news before the game released. It had a thing: if you kept on dying repeatedly, the game would delete your save data, so you'd have to start over again. And they tie that into like what is happening to Senua throughout the game, like what happens every time you die, like what happens to Senua. But I say this as a seasoned gamer, it's not a hard game at all.
Okay.
Like in the slightest. I think in my playthrough, I think I died twice. You know, the combat is extremely simple, and the combat is the only place where you can die in the game. So,
it's true.
Okie dokies. All right, guys. So, first of all, Franco, what should our viewers do?
Play the game. Oh, no. So, no. So, what should our viewers do and our listeners do? Follow us on Spotify, on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok. Do comment about any news that we might have missed, any games that you have played, any movies that we should review, and also give us a like and subscribe. And share our videos everywhere, all at once.
Nice one. Okie dokies. So that is news, guys. We can quickly move on to the reviews now. Franco, are you going to take your leave?
Yeah, guys, enjoy. Also, I wanted to make a comment how fucking expensive Diablo is. I just saw the price. It's like €100 for the gold edition.
Don't get me started.
I'm gonna go toe to toe with Andrea about Activision very soon. So you can listen to that at a later date.
It's a great bookend because I coupled up with Andrea, and now Joe couples up with Andrea. Okay?
Precisely.
Take care of him, Joe. He's been a good boy. Okay.
I will. I'll keep him on the straight and narrow.
Enjoy, guys. See you.
Have a good one, Franco.
Ciao, guys.
See you.
All right. Shall we get started with John Wick first, Joe?
Let's. Why not?
John Wick, what was your experience?
Really fucking good. Like I have to say, and I'll start this again by saying when I first found the John Wick franchise, it was quite a weird one. It was just when I was coming to like really come into my own of like loving films and getting really into it. I go into the cinema a lot, and I had seen the poster a couple of times, and like because movie posters are shit, all it was just like Keanu Reeves and it had John Wick on it, and it didn't really look like anything at the time. I remember it clearly at Eden, and I ignored it. I never watched it in the cinema, the first John Wick film. Then a friend of mine had told me, he's like, oh, like if you like, because at the time I had a big thing for the movie Drive, especially its like aesthetic, like with the neon lights and stuff. He's like, if you like that, but you want a film which is actually really like full on entertaining, like you need to watch John Wick. And I was like, isn't that like kind of crappy looking Keanu Reeves movie? Like I was completely ignorant to it, completely. But no, my friend got me to watch it, and I loved it. I was like, where the hell has this been all my life? Like incredible stunts. It's a super simple yet effective story. And I loved it. John Wick became like one of like my favorite action films, like probably of all time. In that, and I got a bit worried when they started to turn it into a franchise. Like with Chapter 2, I was like, is this going to be like the thing that I'm so used to seeing nowadays of like, let's beat this horse until it stops bleeding money, and it just disappoints me. But no, Chapter 2 was good, although I did mention earlier, my only issue with it was in its kind of exposition of the world and the mythos of John Wick, which is fantastic.
Chapter 2 was... So I just loved the element of all these assassins trying to kill him.
Yes.
I really, really liked it.
That's why
all of them with their different styles of fighting.
It had some really good parts to it. Then I liked Chapter 3 even more because it was like one of my favorite action movies of all time, Mad Max Fury Road. It's just a chase sequence for the entire 2 hours. It's just John Wick on the run for the entire movie until he gets to the end. And then we come to John Wick Chapter 4, again directed by Chad Stahelski. John Wick uncovers a path to defeating the High Table, but before he can earn his freedom, Wick must face off against a new enemy with powerful alliances across the globe and forces that turn old friends into foes. I'll start off by saying it's my second favorite of the John Wick films, behind the first one, because the first one would always have that original place in my heart. And as I said before, it takes the best elements of the first film, which is what it does with the mythos by expanding it more. It doesn't do it in a character explaining something. They just do things. Things happen, and you get a bit more of the mythos. The thing that we all come for to these films is the fighting and the action scenes and the stunt work in it. And this is the highest grade pornography of stunt work that you will ever see in a film, in terms of like, for me, like Mad Max Fury Road is one of the best action films of all time because what it does with its practical effects and set pieces to do with cars is unbeatable. That's never going to be done again. I think it's a very special film. And John Wick is now in that same echelon, but when it comes to hand-to-hand fighting and gunfights, there is nothing better in the world than this. It's incredible to think that Keanu Reeves is doing 98% of all this stunt work, all the gun stuff and the fighting he's doing. He's not doing the stuff like when John Wick jumps out of a fucking building like he tends to do in every movie, obviously. But the guy is nearly 60 years old now. So it's incredible to think that he's still doing this because he loves the character. Like I even listened to an interview with Chad Stahelski. The reason why like John Wick 4 came about and the things they do in it, they were just like sitting around drinking a whiskey and like just going back and forth like, yeah, well, like what can we do with John Wick next? And Keanu was like, I was like, oh, I want to be riding a horse for a lot of the time. Like, okay, fuck it, we'll put you on a horse, kind of thing. You know, like it's great that Keanu's doing this, but
he enjoyed John Wick 3 then, riding the horse.
Yes, he definitely did. But it's wild. It is really long, at nearly 3 hours long. But I also do have to say, objectively, yes, you can cut stuff out of this film. As a video editor myself, as an aspiring filmmaker, cuts can be made. As a fan of these films and knowing that this is 99.9% the last one of these films, would I cut this film? Fuck no. I would not cut a single second. Even to the point where, like, at one point, because I said I watched it with my girlfriend, she just, like, asked me in, like, one of the few quiet moments there are in the film, which actually the quiet moments are very good in this one. Usually they tend to be, like, on the really cheesy end in the John Wick movies. These were very good. There's some good emotion in this film as well. But she asked me, she's like, what's the time? And I showed her my watch. And she was like, holy shit, 2 hours have passed already. And I was like, holy shit, yeah, 2 hours have passed already. It just goes. But again, like, speaking of the stunt work, there's a particular sequence in this film towards the end where, like, have you played the game Hotline Miami?
Have I?
Or have you played like the old original Grand Theft Auto games on like PS1?
Yes.
It goes to like this top-down view, and it's all in one shot.
No, I haven't played Hotline Miami.
But anyway, it's like a top-down shooter. Basically, it goes to this top-down view inside this like building, and it's all one shot, one take, from what I could make out. And I was watching it. I was just like to be like cheesy, like the Martin Scorsese line. I'm like, this is cinema. I'm like, what they're doing here.
This is cinema.
It was like watching a ballet of murder. The way and again, it's Keanu doing all of it. It is fucking incredible. That one sequence, and I can think about certain sequences in the film. There's a part like in Japan and stuff. I'm like, that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. But then I see the top-down sequence. I'm like, that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Then you see other sequences, like, that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. This movie is filled with more of that. There's a part, like, did you read Andreas on Prickly Pears, his review of it?
Yes, and I was going to ask you about that. In fact, about the Keanu Reeves comment.
I disagree wholeheartedly. I completely disagree. He's the same John Wick he's always been. He doesn't do anything less or anything more.
Which is why I found it a little weird.
Yeah.
Because first of all, I know this is actually a passion project of his, of Keanu Reeves, and he's the one pushing for. He was the one pushing for more movies, anyways. And I mean, just from the trailer.
No, he's
I didn't get that impression.
He's a seasoned veteran. He's doing what he's always done. Like no more, no less. But Andreas,
and let's be honest, Keanu Reeves has never been like the best of actors.
Exactly. That's why.
That's not his strong point. There, he has his strong points, definitely.
Yeah.
And I love watching him in movies, but
yeah.
Joe.
But yeah, because Andreas mentioned in his review, it's like there's a sequence in Berlin which you could cut out entirely, and I'm like, I would never cut that half an hour bit out of the film, because I'll actually say there's someone who appears in this film now in the series for the first time, and it's a match made in heaven. This guy should have been in all
Donnie
of the
Yen, right?
Not Donnie Yen. Donnie Yen is fantastic.
No,
Donnie Yen is fantastic in this film. He is someone made for this franchise. But there's another person who's a bit lesser known than Donnie Yen, but in
Scott Adkins.
Scott Adkins is finally in a John Wick film.
Yeah.
For me,
he's tailor-made for John Wick.
For me, Scott Adkins, as someone who loved the undisputed Boyka film, and that's how I discovered Scott Adkins. For me, he's on the level of like Donnie Yen, where Donnie Yen is he's that seasoned veteran, one of the best martial artists on screen in the world. Scott Adkins is, for me, he's the slightly younger version. He's incredible, and finally he's in this film. I dare you to figure out who he is, because I did not know it was him until the film finished, and I was like, holy fucking shit. I loved this film. I wouldn't give it a perfect rating, because it is not. For me, the first one is perfect, because that got everything right in terms of it introduces things to you, the story is really effective, it's the perfect length. Yes, this one's long. I completely understand why they just went, fuck it, we're going for the full 3 hours, because this is probably the last one. So they left no stone unturned in this. There is a particular, to be fair, like one thing me and my girlfriend said on the way home, there is a particular character who you could completely cut out of the film, and it probably wouldn't make much of a difference. But then there is a certain scene where you kind of go like, I know exactly why they put that character there. It really...
How is it like emotionally? Like, because the first John Wick was actually quite
this one,
emotional.
that's another thing. I said
2 and 3 didn't focus on that too
That's
much.
why I said this one kind of brings back the best of the first, because you do get more of the emotion in this one, and it kind of ignores 2 and 3 in a way, like events that happened in that, and it focuses much more on events that happened in the first film and even before the first film. That's where the emotion kind of comes into it. But like how I'll kind of conclude on this, if you are a fan of these movies, and particularly a fan of John Wick, the character, this is made for you with love by everyone involved. Like there are certain moments in it, certain like winks and stuff. This is for the fans. People who aren't even fans, like my girlfriend, could come along, and my girlfriend loved it. And like, she's not an action movie person. Like, one of the biggest arguments we have, she hates Mad Max Fury Road. She thinks it's a really like not good film.
What?
Because her view on Mad Max Fury Road is, it's just action. Like, I don't care about it. There's no story. She's wrong. She's objectively wrong, and I've told her many times.
Even thematically, it's quite a powerful movie.
100%. Again, she's objectively wrong, but anyway, I digress. I was kind of like worried. I'm like, shit, am I taking her to a movie she's going to hate? Like, she thought the first John Wick was pretty good because it involved the dog. So it's an easy thing to win her over with that.
The dog was always the...
Yeah, you tell them, it's about a dog. Like, they go, does the dog die? Maybe, I don't know. Totally doesn't.
Theon Greyjoy is the dog.
Totally doesn't happen in the opening 10 minutes of the film. But she came out of this, and I'm like, what did you think? Like, I saw her because now she has a whole thing. She's got a Letterboxd account, and she's enjoying blogging films on it.
Ooh.
And she's always obsessed with what I give films and stuff like that. And as soon as she finished the film, she whipped out her phone, Letterboxd account. She gave it a 4 out of 5, and I was like, holy shit! I'm like, you didn't just like that movie, you really liked that movie to give it that score from you. And she's like, no, she's like, I thought it was great. She's like she described it like the vibe in it was incredible, like with the lighting and the camera work and stuff, and the stunt work is incredible. And what this has done for me now, I was worried. One of my favorite PS4 games was Ghost of Tsushima, samurai game, and that was announced that they're going to be making a film.
Yes, they're going to be making a film of
Yes, and Chad Stahelski is making it.
Oh, shit.
And now,
amazing.
with that, because he hasn't taken himself to be a one-trick pony. Okay, he worked with David Leitch on the first John Wick. They did it together. But then he's done 2, 3, and 4. And they've just gotten better. And he's become a better director along the way. And he's even said with Ghost of Tsushima, he's like, with this, he's like, I want to pay respect to the game with the colors and stuff like that, and the lighting and the locations.
I mean, let's be honest. Colors, lighting.
Yeah, I have.
And location-wise, John Wick so far, I haven't watched 4, but 2 and 3 especially.
It's
colors
incredible.
and lighting.
Incredible.
Wow. That is
incredible. So I have no doubt that's going to be good. But I can say, John Wick, at the moment, it's deserving all the praise it's getting. This, as I said, it should be the last one. It is an absolute home run, like victory lap of a final film in this franchise. Now we're going to get the TV series about the Continental, but even that's interesting because that's going to be about a younger Winston.
Yes,
so John Wick,
there's that.
It's
there's
good
the
because,
ballerina one.
Yeah, because John Wick isn't going to be included, so they're not going to rely on this character. They've done enough to build a world, and it can be delved into.
All right, Joe.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty much it, right?
Go watch John Wick, whether you're a big fan, whether you haven't heard of it. Get into the films. The 4th one is fantastic.
Love it. I'm really looking forward to watch it. I will plan to watch it this weekend. Unfortunately, it didn't happen due to a number of reasons. Part of it being me being lazy, unfortunately. Anyways, so that is John Wick 4. Another 4 that is partly to blame for me not going to watch John Wick 4 was Diablo 4. Now you might be wondering, but doesn't Diablo 4 come out in June? Yes, but we had the open beta because I don't pre-order games, so I didn't get the early access beta last weekend, but this was the open beta, open for everyone. And mentioning open for everyone, meaning obviously there were a lot of connection issues, especially on day one, because oh my god, day one, I basically spent all Friday evening staring at a screen, waiting. I'm gonna keep this opening cinematic going on here on screen whilst I talk. Basically 1 hour, 30 minutes waiting. I managed to get into the game. And after managing to get into the game, after 20, 30 minutes into the game, basically, I get kicked out of the game. So I have to wait another hour, 30 minutes again to play 20, 30 minutes and then lose connection again. So that was my Friday evening experience. To be honest, I was going to give up on it. Saturday, I had some time. I got in and there was a massive update on Saturday. So I was like, maybe they fix it. And they did, because when I logged in on Saturday, I had a 1 minute waiting time, which is understandable. It's an open beta. And I got in and I had very few disconnections after that. So Friday, it was horrible. But Saturday, I actually managed to start the game. So overall thoughts on Diablo 4 so far. First of all, let me describe me as a gamer. I have been playing games since I was basically a toddler. My first gaming experience was playing Wolfenstein, the original Wolfenstein, and the original Doom games. Those are my first real gaming experiences. So as you can imagine, these I have a certain affinity with these kind of action horror type games, like Doom, like Wolfenstein, where you've got this dark tone. And this was me at the age of 6, 7, 8. So I've always loved games that take a dark tone, which is why obviously I was always pulled to Diablo, because Diablo is tonally very dark, very, very gritty game, especially Diablo 2. I'm going to be honest, I started Diablo 2 very late. Eventually, I got into Diablo 2 because of the upcoming Diablo 3. So I started Diablo 2 and I really enjoyed it. Diablo 3, I wasn't the biggest fan of. There were a lot of mechanics which I really didn't like. Back then, they tried to add the real-world currency into it, which I hated. And that really put me off Diablo 3. And instead of Diablo, then I focused more on went back to World of Warcraft, to be honest, back then. Anyways, but the over-the-top ARPG game style, I love. I spent a lot of time playing Path of Exile as well. I spent hundreds of hours playing Path of Exile. So I have decent experience with this style of games. Now, what are my thoughts on Diablo 4? First of all, as you can tell, the opening cinematic is insane. The storytelling in the opening cinematic, and basically the opening part of the game. You get to play basically the first I managed to put in around 20 hours into this game this weekend. The story wise, it's great. There are some incredible graphics, the graphics both in the cutscenes but also in the game. And very soon I'll put in some gameplay from IGN. Are great. They set the tone perfectly. Later on, actually, I'll fast forward this to when our antagonist appears. This particular scene is so good, and I love this particular scene where we get the introduction to our antagonist Lilith, who looks incredible, is beautifully designed, beautifully voiced, and I can't wait to kill Lilith over and over again every week, hoping to get a certain piece of equipment. I'm going to waste hours, not waste, because I enjoy it, hours and hours and hours of my life playing this game. Because visually, this game is incredible. Let me fast forward this slightly to when we actually see Lilith, which is this looks great. I mean, the setting up of our antagonist is fantastic. Anyways, what about the game itself? Because obviously that's what matters most, right? You can have the most amazing of cutscenes and cinematics. Well, again, graphically, the game looks great. The lighting, the shadows, the effects, the spell effects. I chose a sorcerer, which I'll get into in a little bit. I since I was a little child, always wanted to roleplay as a mage or a sorcerer, specifically using ice or frost. So when I started World of Warcraft all the way back, I became a frost mage, and basically that's been that's never changed in the past 20 years, basically. And same thing here. Apparently it was a good decision because sorcerers are broken as fuck in this game. I did not die once, and that's not to show I'm such a great gamer. I'm not. It's just that apparently I chose the most broken class because people who are trying to use a barbarian, for example, or a druid, were struggling with bosses, which I found, which I basically took no damage from, because the AoE effects are incredible for a frost mage. You have certain armor effects, but basically make you indestructible. You take no damage. So, and that's something I'm going to get into in the negatives later on. But my personal experience playing a sorcerer, I loved it. All the effects are great to look at. The combat is responsive, really fun. It's something we sometimes take for granted playing a game like a Blizzard game, because Activision Blizzard have a lot of issues, and Joe, I know we'll get into that in a little bit. But if there's one thing they know how to do, is to make a AAA game which like just feels good. You press a button and your character does that action. We sometimes take that for granted because it is so intuitive. The combat and just feels good. It feels visceral. It feels, so you can see on screen as well. It just feels really good destroying massive amounts of enemies. So gameplay-wise, it's great. I love it. I love the combat. It's very responsive. The spells are very punchy. And that leads me then to the sound effects. The sound effects in this game are... You mentioned before, I think you mentioned in Hellblade 1, right? To wear headphones, man. Wear headphones with this game because it sounds so good. Like the sound effects are great. The music, the soundtrack, I love the soundtrack. There is a particular team which plays in the opening village and in the opening town, which is great to listen to. And I just kept on walking around the town just to listen to the song. It sounds great, and I'm really looking forward to either buying the soundtrack on vinyl or whatever, getting it somehow, because I really like the music. The game itself doesn't really feel that innovative. It's pretty much Diablo 2 with some elements of Diablo 3 included, and adding like the MMO elements to it, because they've turned Diablo 4 into an MMO, basically, MMO ARPG. And that will then lead me on to another issue of this game, which is there are certain philosophies which feel clashing in this game. This element of MMO elements, but then having a very strong plot-based game. But we'll get to that in a bit when I talk about the negatives. With regard to positives, basically I also wanted to mention is that the skill tree, I know a lot of people complained about the skill tree. I personally didn't mind it. I like it. It feels clear. Playing Path of Exile, basically, to play Path of Exile, you have to have a PhD in ARPGs because it's so complex, man. The skill tree I can't follow the skill tree. And what I end up doing is I end up just copying like the pros skills, basically. Copying them, going onto a pros build and copying that. Here, the skill tree, whilst having some slight complexity to it, felt simple, and I knew if I wanted to build a Frost Mage, I knew what skills I needed to get, and I didn't need to look at any builds. Although my build might be horrible, but like I said, I haven't died so far, so I might be doing something right. Anyways, that's with regard to positives. Also, for a beta, and for a Activision Blizzard game, this felt really well optimized. So with regard to like bugs, glitches, I had nothing. Ran smoothly, frames were great, over 100 frames per second for me. I have a decent PC, so that also helped. So those are positives. Now, negatives. First of all, I can't comment about this because I only played the Sorcerer. I didn't have time to use another class. But I've seen lots of complaints, and I saw some gameplay, and I saw people struggling with the Barbarian. That class needs to be buffed. I was seeing, I think, Asmongold play Barbarian, and I mean, the class has no AoE, literally almost no AoE, and in a game that sends like 50 small minions at you, AoE is essential. And to get AoE, you require rage. So when you start, the game throws like 50 mobs at you. And you need AoE at the start. And then after the AoE, you start targeting individuals, right? Now, with the Barbarian, it's the opposite. To get AoE, you need to build rage. But to build rage, you need to attack enemies. So at the start, you don't have rage, which is a big issue. Because basically, it renders the Barbarian impossible to use in the bigger fights. On the other hand, the Sorcerer has loads of AoE, like Frost Nova and Blizzard and whatnot. So I was literally flying through this game and found it very easy. So that's build balance. Apparently, some people actually had their GPU destroyed by this game. And some people who were using 3080 graphic cards, which is worrying. I didn't know about this. I found about this after. If I didn't know about this, I might have stopped playing. I can't afford a new graphics card. Playing it for 20 hours, I loved every minute of it, but I can see this game becoming a little repetitive at times. And repetitive for a particular reason, because I know how this game is going to end up. You're going to end up having to spam dungeons. And the problem with this game is dungeons feel and play beautifully, but the map design for dungeons is coming from games like like Elden Ring and games like Dark Souls, where although to be fair, in Elden Ring the dungeons were a little meh as well, but in Dark Souls the dungeons were beautiful and the map design was beautiful. But the map design, the dungeon design in Diablo 4 is literally you start, move forward, one option, boss. That's pretty much every dungeon, and this is going to become extremely boring, extremely fast. Like I played 20 hours and loved it, but this is the kind of game where you put in hundreds and hundreds of hours, and I don't know how I'm going to manage to spam dungeons for hundreds and hundreds of hours, always doing the same thing. And they're procedurally generated, so you also have that issue. You start to see certain patterns, and after 20 hours, I started to predict certain parts of the dungeon already, which is a little worrying. Apart from that, another issue I had with this was certain elements of the UI. You shouldn't have to scroll when you're looking at items. The game throws hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of items, and it gives you too many details, man, too many words. Look at that. Like, this came perfectly. Like, this is a little, this is not a lot. Like, these are items which have very few details on them, but there are certain items where you're like, oh my God, like, how much shit do I have to read? And I don't want to spend, like, half the time playing Diablo 4, like, reading. I want my visual experience, and I want to play. So overall, that's my experience with Diablo 4. Good and bad, mostly good. I've seen a lot of people complain about it, but personally, I did quite enjoy my experience with the game. Joe, I know you want to talk a little bit about Activision Blizzard.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, like, because you mentioned like a queue to get in. Is it all online?
Yes, it's all online.
You see that, like, as someone that played like the original Diablo, like very young, it irks me that it can't be a single player experience. And I mean, we all know what happened with Diablo Immortal and how bad and how predatory that was. Are there signs of, like, I mean, for me, at the moment, Activision Blizzard is an extremely problematic company, not just for its business practices, but for other things as well.
Uh-huh.
And luckily, I haven't been a fan of a lot of their games for a long time. Like, I don't play Call of Duty. I wouldn't say I hate World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft does not do it for me. My friends tried to get me into that when I was younger. Never got into the hook. I never saw the point back then. Why should I pay 40 euros for a game and then 12 euros a month to continue playing it? That's bullshit. I like the idea of buying something and it's mine. So I've been lucky. I've never had to be like conflicted about getting into an Activision game for one reason or another. But is there hints already that there's going to be some form of microtransaction? Because then I don't like, for me, Activision Blizzard are not a company who are afraid to then go all in on the microtransactions like they did with Diablo Immortal, where they're like, look, okay, yes, Diablo Immortal is free. But if you want to get the most out of Diablo Immortal, unless you have 900 hours to spare of your life, you're probably going to have to pay a decent amount of money to get there.
To compete online, playing Diablo Immortal, I played a bit of Diablo Immortal, and I played through the whole storyline, and I was, to be honest, I was enjoying it, because gameplay-wise, again, Diablo Immortal was quite fun. I played it on PC. It was quite a decently well-designed game, gameplay-wise, because, again, Activision Blizzard make good games, like gameplay-wise. But when I noticed that I had to either pay to be able to compete online, or I pay lots of money, because there are whales in that game. There are people who spend thousands of dollars or euros on that game, and there was no way. Like, I saw professional Diablo players try not to spend money, being absolutely destroyed in a second. They play this game for hundreds of hours. They respect. They have the best builds possible, and just getting curb stomped by a guy who spent loads of money on this game. Oh, I was like, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
So I stopped playing Diablo Immortal. With regard to Diablo 4, there is going to be a battle pass.
Wow.
It's going to be very similar to the Call of Duty battle pass from what I got.
Okay.
It is all. Nothing will affect gameplay. That's what they say so far. So it's all visual. It's all like outfits, and I assume different. Like if you have the sorcerer, different weapons. I'm gonna be honest with you. I haven't gone into detail because I kind of the person who hates battle passes. Like, I hate battle passes. Now I play Call of Duty like devotedly right now. Not right now. I haven't played Call of Duty in a while, but like during COVID, especially, I reignited my love for Call of Duty, and the battle pass was always like, oh, obviously the most broken gun is the gun that's in the battle pass, and you obviously have to pay to get the battle pass. Like, oh, what a coincidence! The gun that's in the battle pass is the most broken gun, and that's the gun that everyone wants. So obviously everyone has to pay for the battle pass, and so that kind of worries me a little bit. Apparently, it's not going to cost much, but that leads me to another issue of this game. This game costs a lot of money. Listen, if you want to buy the game, and get the battle pass together with it, I think it leads to around $100.
That's ridiculous.
Like Diablo 4 cost. Like the cost of this game is just fucking insane.
For me, you shouldn't spend over €70 on a game unless it's a collector's edition, and you're an enthusiast and you want to get the collectibles with it. Like,
so the standard edition is the usual €70, right? That's the standard edition. The deluxe edition is €90, €90 and most, and the ultimate edition is 100, more than 100. I believe it's more than 100.
Scroll down to that one, okay? So the collector's edition without the game. What is the point of that? It's merchandise. You should sell it separately, and I can buy the individual items. It shouldn't be as a bundle of this. It's not a collector's edition.
Jesus. And listen, again, the art design is beautiful.
Yes, it
the
always
art
has
design
been.
is
Yes,
insane.
the art direction is fantastic.
Insane. But paying this is another thing that irks me. And this is something I am a PC gamer at heart. I've always loved playing PC. I've had PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4. But I've always been a PC gamer at heart. But the lack of physical games is something that really irks me.
Yep.
So really
it's going to come back to bite PC gamers, the fact that physical discs are completely phased out.
Mm-hmm.
And
again, I love Steam.
Yeah.
I love Steam. I really like Steam. It's convenient, but
it's already happened. It's already happened to some games. The example I keep bringing up is Assassin's Creed Freedom Cry. I think it was in France where it's no longer available.
Yep.
I'm not going to be like some like doomsayer. They're like, they're going to come and take away all your games. My point is, if they wanted to, they could.
They could. And it's all in terms and conditions.
Which should never be the case when you have paid money for a product.
You're talking €70, and for many games, €70. Which is ridiculously expensive. But again, this is a game that I can tell a lot of work has gone into this game, and a lot of
I'm sure it has, because they had to get it right after Diablo Immortal as well.
No, 100% they had to get it right. And listening to the developers talk about it, there's a lot of passion behind it. So from that part, again, I'll repeat this, and I cannot stop repeating this. The art direction of this game is insane. Lilith looks fucking great. The design, the sound, everything looks and sounds amazing. This, like you said, worries me a little bit. How is the Battle Pass going to work? That worries me a little bit as well. We'll see. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Diablo 4, the open beta. I'm really looking forward to playing the game when it comes out in June. And definitely will be reviewing it for the podcast. So that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it for today, guys. So, anything else you wanted to add, Joe, about that?
No, I'm glad you are enjoying it. I hope it does continue to be a good game, because I don't like to wish anyone ill on things that they enjoy. I hope Activision Blizzard get their fucking shit together with stuff behind the scenes. But no, as you said, we'll see. I hope that it's not a predatory battle pass and big developers start to actually repay the favor that fans give of paying, like as you said, €70, $70, £70, £70 is a lot of money. It's a lot of money for me, and I have like I have a full-time job, you know.
Same. I'm in a situation where I can't afford like buying multiple games anymore. Like I can't afford like with a house and
I mean,
living on my own.
I purposely do now. There are certain games I've wanted to buy, like 2 in particular, the Callisto Protocol and the Dead Space remake. But I'm like, I'm not paying £60 or £70 for these games now. I'm like, you know what? I'm like,
no.
Okay, Dead Space, I've played it before. For the remake, I can wait until that goes on like an Omega sale. And I either pick it up on if I pick it on PC, I go on a key website like CD Keys, and I pick it up for an extreme discount. Or even with some games, like there were a few where like they haven't gotten the best reception ever, and then like because I pay for PlayStation Plus, I hope that they either get added to the PlayStation Plus catalog or they get given away for free on one of the months, which happens, you know.
And I love shout out to Xbox for their Xbox Game Pass for PC.
Yes,
it's fucking great. It's so good. I've played so many games on Xbox Game Pass for PC. It's the best deal you can get right now, I think, with regard to value wise for gaming. Because there are some great games on Xbox Game Pass for PC. It doesn't cost a lot. It's the only way I can afford to play certain games. The issue is always then new games. Although it does get new games, mind you. It does get new games as well. So like when Halo came out, I played the whole campaign and played a bit of online, although I didn't really enjoy the online that much. But when it came out, it was available on day one on Xbox Game Pass for PC, so that was great. Okie dokies, guys. So let us know, have you tried Diablo 4? Did you manage to get in? Did you enjoy it? Were there some aspects of the game which you didn't like? Also, did you manage to go watch John Wick 4? What were your thoughts about it? Let us know in the comment section below. As always, like, subscribe, follow us in all socials, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. And tomorrow I'll be uploading my thoughts on the Evil Dead 1 on Instagram and Facebook. Follow us there. Follow us on Twitter. I think I mentioned Twitter as well, right? Obviously, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and listen to us on Spotify as well. So thank you so much for watching, guys. See you guys next time. Ciao, ciao.